So if you're into the Beatles, there's a new group that you should know about. My friends and I started last week, and the reason we started this, if you go to Beatles 60 years ago today, and you go to groups, you can see it's just there at the top. Well, the Beatles first started calling themselves the Beatles 60 years ago in 1960. And last week, 60 years ago, they just hired Pete Best. And 3 days ago, 60 years ago, they just arrived in Hamburg. So now, if you want to follow the group day by day, this is a great time to join. And I'll just flip through. You haven't missed much yet. But I'll just flip through what we have so far. We've only been doing this for about a week and have had some interesting chats and learned some interesting things. So I guess this was the first post, and that was the first cover. It shows them 60 years ago at Indra when they arrived on the 17th of August. This is a letter that Paul wrote just before they left for Hamburg to somebody who advertised in the Liverpool Echo, a drummer who advertised, but they ended up, they already knew they were going to offer it to Pete Best, so anyways, they got Pete Best. This is John Lennon's visa photo from Hamburg. This is actually not until next week, till the 25th. That was a little early. But anyway, it's in the right year. That's all we ask. My friend had his book signed by Mark Lewis, and things that happened in 1960. We recommend using, if you want to know the timeline, go to Beatles Bible or something like that, or to Lewison's books, or you can find on Wikipedia a really good timeline. But it's very interesting. So Hamburg is all excited about this because this is where things kind of really got a rocking and a rolling, and where the Beatles really had to sort of triple their repertoire because, they're playing long 6 hours a day, or a night rather, so really didn't want to repeat themselves. So this is like boot camp for them. So this is a stone, and I'll explain it somewhat. You can go and read about it. We'll skip that. This is about Lord Woodbine. This is a guy who is an expert on the real life person, Lord Woodbine, who was a calypso singer who was an early friend of the Beatles. And not much is known or was known about him, but we're starting to learn more and more about Lord Woodbine. And he was on the first trip with Alan Williamson, with Stu Sutcliffe, and a couple of others. Alan's wife and her brother, and all the Beatles, of course, all packed into this van. And that's how they got to Hamburg. That's Lord Woodbine later on. It's a really, really interesting biography about him that Grant added the other day. It's just wonderful, so I recommend reading it. This is a link to a podcast all about the trip from England, from Liverpool down to London to Harwich, and then they got the ferry to the Hook of Holland, and then they stopped at Arnhem Cemetery, which is a military cemetery, and that's where you see this famous photo of them sitting in front of the stone, and the stone says, "Their name liveth forevermore," which is kind of spooky in a way, isn't it? This is John's passport. There's some interesting videos about the places that they went in that trip. This is what was in the charts at the time. The Shimmy Like Kate, and Itsy Bitsy Teeny Weeny, and Elvis Presley, Stuck on You. So we often play some of the music there. This is a set list that Paul wrote, not for Hamburg, but for a gig at the Grosvenor, just before Grosvenor Ballroom, for earlier in 1960, same year, but a lot of, you can see they're playing Elvis songs, and I think it was just him and John that did those gigs in Grosvenor. I don't know. Anyway, I'm not the expert of the group. I'm just kind of producing it, you know. More about the trip. This was at the top of the charts in West Germany at the time. This is the first photo session at the Indra Club when they arrived 3 days ago, 60 years ago. These are the contracts that almost were destroyed in a fire later by accident. Colorized photo of that same session. Adam posted some interesting stuff about their first day there, and this is their contract listing their names and stuff, and blah 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 blah. This is the Marlene Dietrich song that they would eventually cover. This is a YouTube link of a guy who uses all the authentic guitars that they had at the time, the same models. And you can see that. This is a picture of the Indra, a new cover photo. Elvis, I'll never let you go, sweet darling. And a wonderful new post from Grant about the music that they were listening to at the time and that they were drawing from because they had to, and why they had to. Of course, they dug all that music, you know. But anyways, find us. Search Facebook search Beatles 60 Years, and choose groups. It's a group, and come and participate with us if you're into the Beatles.